Bienvenidos and welcome to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV Emacs and TVEmacs.com. You can also find us on Twitter at UPSL Soccer. I'm your host, Alex Naveja, and alongside with me is Dennis Pope and Art F. Kari. And we're here every Thursday so that you, the fans, the coaches, and the players can get an in-depth look at America's fastest growing pro development soccer league, the UPSL. We're going to go ahead and start off with off the top as the UPSL Fall Championship Final. What a thriller it was. Cal United FC ended up winning it in a dramatic shootout in the PKs. Gentlemen, what do you got to say about this game?
It was a fantastic match, the kind of match that's worthy of a championship in the UPSL. Like you said, Cal United did end up winning the shootout, but the match went to shootout. It would have gone to overtime, but UPSL rules determined that once the two teams are tied at the end of 90 minutes, then go straight to a shootout. So the game was tied 1-1. Cal United scored a goal in the first half. Innocentes scored a goal in the second half. Even things up. There was almost a goal in the 90th minute that was called offside from Cal United that led into the shootout. And then once the shootout happened, Cal United just kind of took care of business. They got a save from their keeper, Kalani. Innocentes matched it with a save of their own. And then the third Innocentes striker set one over the bar. And that kind of set the stage for Cal United to kind of finish off the shootout. And it sets, Cal United apart. This is the part of that group. 5 or 6 of those players have won now 3 UPSL championships in 4 seasons. And so this is sort of the culmination of a process for that group as that team heads now to the NPSL Founders Cup. And they're still going to keep a team in the UPSL, but they're on to bigger and better things. And so this championship is sort of like a stepping stone for them on to what's next for them.
What about yourself, Art?
It was a great game. It had a lot. I mean, when talking about goals, it's exactly why it was a good game. It wasn't some shootout where, where there was no defense. Both teams brought their A game, and there was plenty of entertainment. So, yeah, loved watching that.
I definitely think it was what the game was, what we were expecting. National championships, both of these teams going back and forth, ended up going to PKs and had to come down to the wire. But definitely a very exciting game to take in for anybody that got to watch that one. Quite a game to be able to take in. To that one.
There's a really good goal from Andy Contreras there in the first half. He hit a left-footed curler, kind of dribbled around the right side and made his way, found an opening and just fired it past the Innocentes keeper. And that was right after Cal United got a red card. Their midfielder, Kyle O'Brien, was sent off for a reckless challenge, and they went down a man. And then like 4 minutes later, it wasn't too long after the fact that they went in and they scored that goal. And that sort of set the stage for the rest of the game. Innocentes was fighting back, trying to counterattack, trying to set some defensive pressure in the second half, some traps, in the second half. And one of those finally worked, and they got out on the counterattack, and they found a substitute who was able to put one in the back of the net, just outside the outstretched fingertips of Kalani. Really good goal for them, and a well-deserved moment for Innocentes to come all the way from Fort Worth, Texas, after all the traveling they had to do to get a goal in the national championship game and make it a real competitive match that everybody was really looking forward to. I think they, showed well for themselves. They proved themselves on the national stage, and they definitely deserve, the accolades that they're getting now after the fact. And not only that, but they continue to bring, but they always bring the best crowd in the UPSL. Their supporters group is the best. They're just nothing but love for the club, chanting the entire game. Just really, really great support for them. And it's good to see. There are teams like that can, produce the kind of atmosphere that you'd expect. So kudos to Innocentes, congratulations to Cal United FC2, and Andy Contreras and Paulo Cordozo for being the MVP of the game. Just a real tight, action-packed championship game. I hope to see more from both clubs going forward.
I definitely think this was good for the league to be able to have such an action-packed national championship. This is exactly what you expected. But UPSL, they did have a promotion, and they named the new national director being Matt Kalla, being promoted from the Central Conference, being the manager of the Central Conference. Big moves going on for Matt Kalla.
Big deal for the UPSL. They've been without a national director for a couple of weeks, almost a month now since the departure of Paul Point. And so it's good that the UPSL was able to fill that role. And Matt Hall is just a genius in Texas. The things that he's been able to do there, and the way he's been able to build UPSL Texas has been really impressive. He's super hands-on from all aspects of the clubs, from marketing to the on-the-field product. So he's going to be really good for the league. And personally, really pleased that Matt was the one that was chosen to be promoted from inside the UPSL. There's a lot of great candidates, a lot of great people working within the league, a lot of people that were worthy and deserving of this type of promotion. But Matt shows the kind of fortitude and go-get-itness that the league is looking for, and I think he's just going to be a real tight fit for the league.
What about yourself, Art? What are your thoughts about this new promotion for Matt?
It's exciting for him. We've heard his name many times. He's always very involved, and this is the kind of person that the UPSL will be really excited to have, to be their new national director.
Well, we're looking forward to the upcoming moves that Matt will be doing for the league. But now, fans, we're taking your picks, the UPSL Best 11. You guys can actually send your suggestions to us at UPSL Soccer, as we're going to go ahead and let you gentlemen pick your picks. Your best 11.
So you're saying you want us to choose who we think are some of the best players in the league?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, I think that should be up for some of the fans and the teams to choose. So send your recommendations to UPSL Soccer on Twitter at UPSL Soccer, or the Facebook channel or the Instagram feed, and send your recommendations there. There's lots of great players throughout the league. There's more than 150 teams in the fall season, so there's going to be a lot of players to choose from. If you multiply that out, that's 400 or more odd players that are eligible for this award. And the UPSL awards 3 teams. So there's the UPSL Best 11 first team, second team, and third team. So the possibility of 33 players being picked overall. So the UPSL wants to see your selections, want to see who you guys think are deserving of the postseason accolades. Art, do you have any choices do you think you might want to see on the list?
Well, one of them would be from Cal United, Christian Gordillo. He goes by the nickname El Flaquillo.
El Flaquillo, yes.
Great player, has a lot of skill. He's played before in Mexico, so yeah, great guy as well.
That'd be a great pick. Yeah, Christian Gordillo is a great player on the championship team. So yeah, send your picks at UPSL Soccer on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Make sure we see them. You can send them to the league at info@UPSL Soccer. You can send them to me at upslcommunications@gmail.com. Any way you can find a way to get a hold of us, let us know who your picks are.
It's going to be really interesting to see the different picks. But we're going to go in and take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to have the promoted man himself, the new national director, Matt Kala. He will join us here in the show. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. That is Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. That is UPSL Soccer. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max. I'm Alex Naveja. Alongside with me is Dennis Pope and Art F. Takari. And now, the moment that we've all been waiting for, Matt Kala, the newly promoted UPSL National Director. Matt, how you doing tonight? Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're doing great as well. Looks like you're in your office there. It looks pretty nice.
Yes, this is actually not my office. This is my dog's office, actually.
Oh,
He really enjoys this spot. He loves to look at all the achievements that UPSL's brought, in a short lifespan. So definitely enjoys just walking around here, peeing on everything that I've done. So it's great. It's great for him.
and what's your dog's name?
It's Milo. His name is Milo.
Oh, Milo. That's a nice name for Milo, but just wanted to ask you a couple of questions on the new position and your promotion, if you don't mind me asking. My first one would probably be, what do you think of your new position so far?
I'm excited. I mean, it's really fresh. I mean, it started Thursday of last week. So, there's just kind of a lot of getting my feet under me, talking to a lot of the conference managers, just the normal process of when you start a new position, just kind of filling everybody out and also getting acquainted with everybody that you haven't talked to, because I was only a conference manager. So I kind of reported to Carlos and Jan as well as Lionel. So just kind of really reaching out to the rest of the conference managers and kind of talking to them about, things going forward.
Mm-hmm. And which successes can be replicated from your time as being the Central Conference Manager?
I think it's the communication aspect. In the Central Conference, we really communicated really well. That includes, reaching out on Twitter to different podcast protagonists, some of those ones that, in San Antonio and Houston, and just being over communicative what we're doing, when the schedule's coming out, what teams are coming back, what teams are not coming back for the fall season. So I think that's the biggest things that I'll take away is, when I'm reaching out to everybody, just making sure that your communication skills with the resources around you are used very well.
That's actually a good thing that you mentioned about communication, especially with all the changes that the UPSL is making now. So I think that's a good thing personally. But what are some of the pitfalls that you're looking to avoid?
Pitfalls, and I don't know if we had, obviously when I started as conference manager, we were at 0 teams in UPSL. I think, a lot of the pitfalls you can avoid is with communication. If we're all on the same page, we're all going good with conference managers, with the, and just working all together, I think we can avoid a lot of the pitfalls. Some of the club owners, they talk about, the competition level. And I think, some of the teams that now that we have a second division, going into that third division, we can avoid a lot of those pitfalls going into that way, because now, this team that we know, hey, they haven't gone long. Let's put them in that third. Let's put them in that second division. And then I think, you avoid a lot of these premier teams, just talking about like, man, I worked my way up here. I've been in a club for, 5 years, working this up. And then now you have the second division coming in, trying to get promoted to first division. I think you avoid a lot of pitfalls with promotion relegation that UPSL is doing.
Hey Matt, this is Dennis. I'm curious to know what some of your major action items are for the short term.
My major action items would be really developing the women's as well as the youth, just across the USA. And just, I think, when we focus on youth, you can focus on your club from a young standpoint all the way growing them up into that premier status, where they're playing for that men's club. Those kids have something to look forward to. They see the guys, in their uniforms, as they're, working, from U12 to U14, U16, and then, U18, and then getting into that men's league. I think it's just an alternate avenue for a local club to have that youth club right there, as well as them developing women's as well. I mean, UPSL has now covered all assets, what you can do to grow your club. So I think that's big right there.
What would be your major action items for the short term?
Well, I think it's reiterating, the communication aspects, that we're communicating with all the conferences, that the conferences are communicating with all the resources around them, and then really talking to, a lot of the conference managers and the women's conference managers of growing not only the men's and the women's, but also really looking into that youth. I think, that's going to be one of my major action items is, how can we keep growing this youth game as well as keep developing the men's teams? I mean, we're growing at a rapid rate. And I think the next thing logically to do is really start working with the women's and getting that developed, and then really start working with the youth as well and starting, just getting all the conference set up for success in that round.
Where do you see the UPSL in 5 years?
So we've been talking about this quite frequently for the last maybe couple of months, and I think if we're going to hit that 1,000 goal, we have we have a European system. I was in Portugal recently, more in line the Azores, so they're little islands off Portugal. They had 9 divisions of men's teams. You go into that round where they're developing the youth. They have 9 divisions where these kids are also going through a different division. I think UPSL, in 5 years. We're going to have 5 to 6 divisions where we're having competitive matches, from the 6th to the 5th and the 4th to the 3rd to the, 1st. And, as these teams keep getting promoted, I think it's just going to be where this whole club has everything suited for it. This UPSL club that has grown from, a youth to the women's side, to the men's side. Now everybody's flocking to these clubs because you can grow your talent right there.
Can we be expecting the UPSL to possibly go worldwide? Is that an option at all?
That's something that I would love to discuss. But as far as right now, let's just get into that into the Hawaii states, the 50 states, so that way we can say that we have every state covered. In America. I lived in Hawaii. I know the infrastructure there. They would love it. Obviously, the travel's a lot easier there because it's all inter-island. I think going outside of the playoffs would be a different story. But we've got Alaska, so let's go ahead and get Hawaii going.
And my final question would be, what are you looking forward to the most with this promotion?
I think, just talking to and communicating with the conference managers, communicating more with the headquarters over there, just really seeing and getting everybody on the same page. That was my biggest thing. As soon as I got the position, I started gathering a database of all of our names, so that way I can have a Rolodex, if you will, of, just who I need to reach out to and what we can work in together. Texas was a big success as far as the men's team. John Retro's doing a great job with the women's team over here. And then Harold's building up the youth. So any support that I can bring to help keep growing the women's, the youth, and the men's, I think that's where I'm an asset to, and where they can really utilize me in those aspects.
Well, Matt, it was definitely a pleasure having you on the show tonight. Thanks for stopping by. We wish you the best of luck on your new position.
All right, thank you guys.
We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have the UPSL Maikuju Goal of the Year. And welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max. And now we bring you the UPSL Maikuju Goal of the Year. Just want to say congratulations to Emilio Mendez on winning the Maikuju Goal of the Year, and also congrats to him for becoming a father. And it was a really tough competition to be able to choose, but he ended up coming up top of this one. But we bring you Dennis Pope and Art Epicari. Gentlemen, what were your thoughts on this shot?
Oh, Emilio Mendez's goal, I think it was a rocket, right, in both the terms of the shot itself and the way social media reacted to it. Samba FC somehow has the golden touch on social media, got all the votes practically in the semifinal and final round. I don't know, what kind of situation they have brewing there with their social media content coordinators, but they got all the votes, and Samba FC, congratulations. Emilio Mendez won during the regular season, and now he's the Goal of the Year champion. And so that's another $250 to Emilio Mendez for him, like you said, to help with his newborn baby. So congratulations to Emilio.
What about yourself, Art?
Yeah, awesome goal. I mean, whenever, seeing the final round in general, yeah, tough decisions to make, just great quality goals. And, Emilio Mendez, awesome shot, it's quality, excellent finishing.
Before we even get into detail, I have a little bit to say, but I can finally get back on Carlos, because Carlos is the one saying that, no, it's going to be Ceballos, and I told him, no, it's going to be Emilio Mendez. He's going to be the one to end up winning.
I picked Ceballos too, and I heard from John Rexroad, he's like, I'm not going to forget that you picked Ceballos. All right, so again, yeah, it was his player, Emilio Mendez. Samba FC out of San Antonio, they are the winners. And yeah, you picked the right one. What can we say? I think the fact that Mendez was like falling down right as he was taking the shot, I think that probably won people over. I think people like that.
It was off balance, but you know what? It was the help of the social media. I think Samba did have a lot to do with it. They promoted a lot of that goal. Hey guys, vote for Emilio on this, and we got to get him to win on that one. So I mean, I definitely think that really helped out a lot too.
The votes made the difference, right? That's why we put it out there so the people could vote, and the people said Emilio Mendez, so we trust the people.
Do you trust the people, Art? What do you say?
Like sometimes, not all the time. Just being honest with that. Maybe one day there'll be like a long clip on YouTube saying the 100 greatest goals of the UPSL. Maybe there'll be some more debating eventually in the future.
I think that's going to create a lot of debate, and that'll create a lot of fight there. But if you still ask me, I still think it's Zuniga. Zuniga from
the halfway
the half shot. I still think that's pretty remarkable. But the good thing about this league is that people have a say, and they
That's right. That's right.
That's how it is.
It's the People's League.
The People's League, just how they want it. But that was the Maikuju Goal of the Year. As we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, it's that time, guys. It's that time of night. We're going to go and put in our swing shoes as we're going to head out to the East Coast Swing. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max. And now we're just about ready to swing our way to the East Coast swing. We're going to talk about the pressing topics across the UPSL East. First stop will be the Northeast. What's the setup going to be for the spring season, Dennis?
As it stands right now, it looks like the Northeast is going to have one Pro Premier division, and one tier, I should say, and then two championship tiers where they're sort of going to break up a little bit more geographically. So you're likely to see in the second tier, the championship tier, more of a New England grouping, and then more of a New Jersey, New York, sort of Pennsylvania type grouping. And so that'll be the way that that's broken out. Last year, in the spring season, it was broken into two Pro Premier divisions with an American and a Patriot, or a Patriot and American. That was the brainchild of the former Eastern director. But now that Jim Antonakis is in charge of the East, I think right now with the grouping of teams that he has, there's going to be just one Pro Premier tier there now, and then two championship tiers that'll get filled up so that they can begin the process of promotion and relegation there in the Northeast.
Do you think Mass United FC can repeat as a champion, or is this going to be the year that Safira is going to come back and rebuttal and be the champions?
Well, Mass United, they definitely can, because, at the end of the season, if they've won, all the games and win that title game, yes, they can. But yeah, they definitely have a chance, but I think it's going to be between them and Safira. It's someone right now I could say it's a toss-up, and I think right now that's pretty much my stance on it.
What are going to be some of the obstacles that Safira is going to have to face off to be able to beat Mass United?
I think probably total number of games played. Safira is big players on the futsal circuit, and so having a team in the UPSL for them is an extra level. So it's going to take a bigger resource pot for them to manage both. What's the importance that they place on their UPSL season? What are the finances that they're going to put forward? Because they have the talent, they have the players, they have the infrastructure there. It's just, can they put what it takes into it to get what they want out of it? Last year they played the Eastern Championship. They lost in I think it was a shootout to Mass United, so they're right there. I think it's just a matter of maybe finding those who got a little bit of luck, and also really going after it again, because if they want it, it's out there for them to have. Massachusetts United FC, owned by Jim Antonakis, is always going to have quality groups. They're always going to be there at the end challenging too. So it'll be interesting with the new teams that have added there in the Northeast to see how that plays out. But Safira is still involved in U.S. Open Cup qualifying. They're going to play a first round game here in April, and so that'll factor into the start of their season and how they progress through the rest of their season. See how they do if they actually make the U.S. Open Cup. That'll be a major determinant to how they play their season in UPSL. So it'll be interesting to see for sure.
We're going to want to make our way a little down south in the east, and we're going to stop by Florida. And there's already been action going on in Florida as the UPSL Championship Florida Central League has already gotten games under their belts. And what have been so far some of the games going on?
Well, there's 8 teams down there in the UPSL Championship Florida Central Division, and they got started the weekend of February 2nd and 3rd. There's a lot of small clubs in that area that are involved in the UPSL Championship that just started last in the 2018 year. This will be their second full season running. There's an Independiente club that plays down there. There's a Lake Mary, Deportivo Lake Mary 2 that plays down there, which is an affiliate of the Deportivo Lake Mary that plays in the UPSL Pro Premier tier there in Central Florida. And so this is a group of teams that a lot of them are new. Some of them have been playing in regional leagues, and they're trying to get their first taste of pro development and see what the league is like. Basically, this is sort of the entry level for UPSL Florida right now. And so the teams there, they're just trying to scrap their way and find their way through the beginning of the season. It's going to be tough start for a lot of those clubs unless they're very well organized at the start. Teams that have a firm foundation tend to do better as the season progresses. So it'll be interesting to see who continues to win games as the spring season progresses into the summer here.
So we're going to continue on the southeast side as we're going to go to the Charleston United SC. They held their first signing day on Saturday, February 9th. Did you see anything from that signing day that was pretty significant there?
Well, they're doing what they can to, they're ready to show that they're a force to be reckoned with, and they got a good club there. They really, they have a good vision, and I think they really will, challenge Low Country United, when that game comes.
The Low Country and Charleston United, they had paired early on in the 2018 year. Charleston United was primarily just a youth club, and so Low Country was trying to partner, and they did partner for a time as Low Country being the pro development and Charleston United being the youth club. But Charleston United has a bigger vision. They want a little bit more out of their club, and so they've began the process of creating their pro development team and entering into the UPSL. And these clubs are based right there in Charleston, South Carolina, right up against one another. And so it makes for a natural rivalry there. And Low Country is going to have to, step up another level from where they were last year. They were in the Southeast Mid-Atlantic South playoffs. So Low Country's already putting together a good product, and they will be challenged for both fans and players, from Charleston United. So it'll be a real interesting dynamic to see how that works out in that soccer scene. That Charleston is a soccer crazy place. They have the Charleston Battery, which is USL team. It's a really up and coming place for soccer, and so this is an awesome development for the city to see their premier youth club actually create a pro development team so that they can see their players start to progress and give a model for other clubs in South Carolina to sort of go after.
It's going to be interesting to see how this is going to develop as far as being a soccer town, being a soccer city, seeing the people and the players being able to develop and being the future soccer players to develop. And it's going to be really interesting to see how these players begin to go and move on and progress in their soccer careers. But we're going to move to the Midwest now, as the schedules have already been released. So we're getting ready to see some of the matchups. What are some of those matchups looking like, Art?
Well, when you think of Midwest, you right away think of Bavarian Soccer Club. They won the 2018 Spring Championship. I mean, that's a quality club. They have a lot of history behind their club, and they even brought out their retro kit. I was checking it out earlier, and I already want one. I'm not gonna lie, I do already want one. But show some respect to still show my support to one of my favorite teams in the UPSL. That's GAM United. I still want that scarf that says GAM time. But I'm rambling now. But yeah, Bavarian, they're looking good. They obviously have a lot to prove. I mean, they were not able to play in the fall season. We know because of obvious reasons, the weather. And they're going to play, I believe, DeKalb County United in their home opener. So that's going to be one I'll be marking on my calendar to watch on my Cujo.
I want to check out that retro kit, so keep me in mind when you're going to look at that retro kit again, Art, because I also want to check
90 years for Bavarian there in Milwaukee. 90 full years now. They're one of the oldest clubs in America, and they're part of the UPSL. They're the current spring champion, and we talked about it on the podcast the other day. Wouldn't it be a dream matchup to have Bavarian, the spring champion, against Cal United FC2, the fall champion, and some sort of Super Cup, UPSL Super Cup. But the Midwest last season was so much fun to watch and see how that worked out. There were some difficulties there, nobody's shying away from those. But I think, there's only more excellent games and clubs, to come out of that region from, Michigan and Illinois to Minnesota, all the way down to Missouri. I mean, it's a massive geographic place, and I think the UPSL, it really stands to grow there. And I really hope that a lot of these clubs, they get their My Cujo rolling, and so that we're able to see all these great matchups throughout the year.
Can we make that Cal United Bavarian game happen?
Oh, wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be pretty cool. The Super Cup, you already thought of a name for
right.
it. You already thought about the matchup for these two. Why not make it happen?
Why not just get a venue and get these teams together and
big
just
one.
Right.
To be a big one, you gotta fit up all of those fans that are gonna come in.
Right.
It.
I guess if you get the logistics work out, yeah.
And good for the people of Milwaukee because good team they have there. And, the Milwaukee Bucks, I mean, I don't even know if people know much about them anymore.
I think they lead the NBA East, dude.
Yeah, they're in
Well,
first place.
but come on, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
He's a Bulls fan. So yeah, he's throwing shade at Milwaukee.
Shady days, rainy days in Chicago.
Yeah, that's true.
Now we're going to make our way to Texas. Not to mention what happened with the game over the weekend with the Inocentes. We'll put that one aside. The team's preparing for the first season with Active Pro, with Real Model in effect.
Yeah, promotion relegation coming to Texas this season. 3 tiers and 3 divisions. The UPSL Pro Premier, the UPSL Championship, and the UPSL League One. And so you're going to see, the fluctuation of what it's like on sporting merit in America, in Texas this coming season. You're going to see, the top teams promoted. You're going to see the bottom teams relegated, and it's going to begin the cycle that everybody's hoping for here in America to see that sporting merit model, take place. And so it's an important season for Texas. More than 40 teams involved in all of this. And Matt Kalla is a massive part of that. The new national director, he comes from his role as the Central Conference manager. The Central Conference, primarily the teams are in Texas. He's built that for the most part, with a lot of help. But he's built that to the point where it is now, where like he said during the interview, 0 teams to plus 40 and 3 tiers, and with promotion relegation. What kind of architect? In soccer, that's the kind of architect that I think America's looking for. So we're happy to have him as national director. I think it's going to make a big difference. And Texas, is something that all soccer fans in America should keep their eyes on for the UPSL. It's one of the biggest, fastest growing markets. They just had a national championship representative. I think there's a lot to like about, UPSL Texas in the 2018 season.
I mean, I still think the Inocentes game and Cal United game really had an impact on that too. But Art, what about you? What are your thoughts on these Texas teams developing now?
I like it a lot. I mean, whenever you hear promotion relegation and you have this pyramid that's well structured, you really cannot find anything negative to say about it. All you could do is just find the positives and, be excited for what's taking place down in Texas.
Yeah, so many great clubs. Lots of good stuff from Houston to San Antonio to up to Dallas and Fort Worth. And even now in West Texas, and some of those teams are going to be part of the UPSL Southwest conference or division. And it's a little bit different than the Texas, but soccer's just growing massively all over the state with the women's and the youth. Texas was ready for the UPSL, was definitely super ready for the UPSL.
Well, we'll have to wait and see for the latest developments for Texas, but that's going to be the end of the song. But when we come back, we're going to go ahead and say what's up to the UPSL West Side. And welcome back to Inside UPSL, presented by TVE Max. And we're now ready to say what's up to the West Coast What's Up segment as we look at what's hip in the UPSL West. First stop is going to be the Pacific Northwest. How soon before we see the momentum bubble in Alaska?
Well, Cook Inlet Soccer Club was just added to the league about 10 days ago, and that's a massive step for Alaska soccer. That's the biggest and oldest youth club in Alaska. Dates back to the early 80s. And so I know that in and of itself is going to bring a lot of families around to the UPSL, which is a major step up there. Everything is, very close-knit up in Alaska. The communities are pretty small. There's no major cities really up there. Anchorage is the biggest one, So to have the biggest and most influential youth club now be a part of the UPSL, I think is going to stand to change things. So I think that now you're going to see the ball rolling a little bit further. There are some other clubs up there that have been rumored to sort of be involved in asking about the UPSL or seeking out, registration and things like that. I think you're probably going going to start to see some of those things come full circle. Yeah, there's at least another 4, 5, 6 teams up there that could potentially join the UPSL. So, yeah, it's exciting times up there. It'll be interesting to see if Alaska is actually able to pull it together for this spring-summer season. I know there's a lot of interest up there and them playing straight away. So I think, if we see in the next few weeks, more teams start to populate, then there could definitely be a season this year. If not, definitely something is coming. There's definitely something brewing up there for sure. And so it'll just take a little bit of time and a little bit of patience, maybe. What do you think, Art?
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I'd be interested in involving UPSL and Alaska is, during the spring, summer, I believe is that time of the year where they have just like a lot of sunlight. I mean, they should be having like games like at 10 o'clock at night, and it'll look nice and sunny.
Right. No one's gonna get frozen solid or anything at 10 at night or anything.
No, not during
No.
especially now with climate change, right? But you could have the ultra late game on My Cujo be the Alaska game, right? How sweet would that be at like 10 p.m. West Coast? Would there be a game and it's still bright outside? How cool would that be? I hadn't thought about that yet. I'm kind of excited about that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, well, there you go. You got to put in a word on that and make it happen now. Dennis, you got to make it happen.
Yeah, we have a 4-game slate. We have a game on the East Coast, a game in the Midwest or Texas, a game here in California, and then the Alaska night game, which is weird because it'd be a day game.
It'd be a day game for them, but it'd be
Right,
like
right.
nighttime here.
It's like, what time would that be East Coast? Like 4 a.m.? Anyway.
But we're going to go ahead and move on
Yeah.
to the mountains. Can Boise FC Cutthroats repeat as the conference champs?
The Mountain Conference has gone through a lot of changes in the last 3 years. And Boise FC has always managed to be right there at the top of it every time. Quality squad every year. Hector Palacios, their owner and general manager, really does a great job of cultivating some good talent there in the Boise area. I would think, among the group of teams that are up there right now with San Juan FC and Utah Saints and a couple of the others that are still managing their way into the spring season, they probably hold the spot as the favorite going in.
Mm-hmm. What about yourself, Art?
Yeah, they're looking good. They're a very good club, and I'm sure, of course, we'll be doing them a big favor by just pointing out that they will be hosting open tryouts March 2nd and 3rd. So whoever is interested, go to BoiseFCPro.com. But yes, they're definitely one of the favorites to repeat as conference champs. And like I said, they got a good club and they have a good vision.
I might go ahead and give it a shot. I might go for that tryout, see how it goes. Probably not that well, but now we're going to move on to the Southwest. What can we be expecting out of the Sporting Arizona FC this season?
A lot of talented players, for one, and a good marketing scheme. This Sporting AZFC is probably the top, pro development club in the state of Arizona. They made an excellent run in the U.S. Open Cup last year, and they made it all the way to the national final. They played Bavarian in that championship game in the spring season. And that was a great game, too. I think you're going to see them definitely challenge for Southwest Conference, definitely challenge in the UPSL West. They're probably going to enter U.S. Open Cup again at some point, so that's going to be later on in the year, but they have a lot of big plans there. They're looking for more as a club. I don't think the UPSL is necessarily going to be their last stop. And so, I think winning and cultivating a winning brand and getting a bunch of really good players is their focus this season, and seeing how far they can take competitions and see where that kind of places them, for the 2020, 2021 year. But they're definitely thinking big, thinking for more.
Art, what about you? What are your expectations for the AZFC this year?
Like many times, they are such a good team. I mean, they've had a lot of quality players before. They've had they've had really good coaching, and right now, when looking at the Southwest, I believe it's a new Southwest Conference. We know it's been revamped, but they're definitely the team that has the target on their back. I mean, great team, great players. You just know that they're going to be tough to beat.
Mm-hmm. They will get every team's best shot in the Southwest for sure. That's the team that a lot of other clubs are looking to model themselves after. Like I said, the U.S. Open success that they had this last year, beating Phoenix Rising in like the third or fourth round was a massive deal for not only pro development soccer but amateur soccer in the United States. Just really quality from the ground up. They've built a really good club. Tim Marchesotto has their owner, and Kyle Kepner, their director of operations. They just continue to impress, especially with that market there in Mesa, Arizona. It's not the greatest of situations there in the Southwest. Clubs are sparse. There's quite a distance sometimes between, traveling between games and stuff like that. So it's difficult, but Arizona is on the up, in terms of soccer and soccer culture. And so I think Phoenix Sporting Arizona is going to ride that wave, and they're doing a good job of it.
So we're going to go ahead and move a little closer to home, but not quite home just yet. If you're not from NorCal, we're not close to home just yet. But in NorCal, preseason games have started for the Wild West Conference clubs. What games have already started off already?
There's been a few. There's a lot of men's amateur clubs in the San Francisco and the Bay Area, and they like to play UPSL teams in the preseason, so you have seen some of that. Real San Jose and Jaws of Redwood City have all played, and Contra Costa FC2 have all played amateur clubs there in the Bay Area. And so those are the ones that take place first, and then you start to see UPSL clubs and like MPSL clubs start to play each other as both their seasons start to ramp up here pretty quickly. I know the MPSL has already started, UPSL is about to start, so these teams are looking for like their final matches of the preseason before the season starts.
We're going to go ahead and go now to home base to SoCal, and now preseason games featuring LA Wolves FC and LA 10 FC have already been drawing interest. Can the Wolves push playoff streak to 9 seasons? Art, we'll start off with you.
Definitely they can. They always have a good roster, and the coaching is there as well. And it's just when you think of the Wolves, you right away think that this is one of the marquee teams of the UPSL. They're one of the founding members of the United Premier Soccer League as well. So yeah, they definitely could extend that streak of going to the playoffs again.
Yeah, 9 consecutive seasons now. They've made the playoffs every season that they've been involved with the league. So, that's a numbers game, right? Either they continue it this year or this will be the year that they miss. But it depends on who, the team brings in, the quality of play around the rest of the SoCal North Division. And you would think by just looking at the teams, Cal FC is going to be right there again. LA 10, which is newly promoted, they have a really strong backing behind them, a really good foundation, and they're planning on making some big announcements here coming up soon too. So they're a team to watch as well.
We'll be looking out for both of those teams. As we just said, what's up to the West Coast, what's up. But when we come back, we're going to preview the 2019 season, so you don't want to miss out on what's to come. Welcome back to Inside UPSL, presented by TVE Max. 2019 season is just around the corner, and there have been so many changes in the league and many new additions to the league. What can we expect this year from the 2019 season as we had Dennis Pope and Art at Dakari? What are we expecting from this year, gentlemen?
I think we're expecting just, seeing, more teams, make more teams make more headlines. Maybe some of the teams we have not heard of that often, and I think it's going to be exciting. Of course, we're going to see a lot of the same favorites, get out there and, show everyone what they got. But I just think we're just going to see a lot of exciting soccer, and I think we're going to see even some surprises in a lot of divisions as well.
Yeah, more than 250 teams in the spring season for the UPSL, coast to coast. Just about every region across the country. Milwaukee Bavarian is the spring season champion, and you can expect them to do very well again in the Midwest and be one of the favorites there. Tons of teams in Florida. I think there's 60 plus there in Florida alone amongst the different divisions, and they've broken South Florida into 2 different divisions there. Texas, as we mentioned earlier in the show, is growing and growing still. The Northeast is still trying to figure itself out a little bit, but we have a good group of teams there, really committed at its base to growing the game there in the Northeast, and not to mention the Southeast and the Atlanta Caribbean Division. That's a group of teams based just strictly there in Atlanta that have mostly Caribbean influenced clubs. That pops back up again in the spring. And the Mid-Atlantic divisions, those are growing still with new teams. Carolina up and down, the Carolinas, Maryland, and Virginia too, and Southern California continues to be one of the hottest spots for soccer in all the country. Clubs are growing here, teams are spreading out and adding second-tier teams and adding youth development clubs and the women's side. I think you're going to see increased influence and respect and demand for the women's game in the UPSL. Clubs are going to start to see what some of the other clubs already beginning with the women's side are doing, and they're going to want to hop on board with that because that's a whole nother revenue stream and cultural impact in their communities to have the women's game there, and that's a really positive step that a lot of teams are taking. But what you're definitely going to see is a lot more soccer out of the UPSL, probably double the amount of teams and games that you saw last spring, and all of it's going to be brought to you hopefully on MyCujo. That's the league streaming partner. All the home teams are required to stream their home games, and so that'll be a big push for the entire league going into this year, is making sure that all the teams have their streams working, everybody's putting their games up, so we have all that content and we can build that fan base across the country for these clubs. It's a real important step that these clubs begin to utilize MyCujo and the capabilities there, and so in order for us to grow the league, people have to be able to see the league, right? And the number one way for them to see the league is through MyCujo. And so please, if your team isn't on MyCujo and you want to see them there, tell them, let's get the clubs making sure that they are giving their fans what they want. So let's use MyCujo. Let's make it something that goes hand in hand with the UPSL experience, and make sure that if there's a club out there that somebody wants to know about, they know that they can go watch them. Give them a place to go and not them just be a club that's out there in the wilderness. There's a home for them, and it's here in the UPSL. And so you're going to find that more and more, and teams and clubs are going to continue to find the UPSL as an option for them. It's a full season, right? They play spring and fall. And so when a club grows to pro development status, they're going to look for year-round training, year-round games, and you're going to see more teams. Right now the league is at nearly 300 pro development men's teams, and you're going to see that number jump again once the spring season gets going and everybody sees the action that's happening. So you're going to see a lot more growth. If people think that the UPSL has grown a lot already, it's going to grow twice again as big. So it may not happen this year, but it's going to keep happening. And having the games and being able to watch the games is a big major factor in that.
Fans, if your team currently isn't being streamed on mycujo.com, you can always tell your teams and try to get that in the works, because that's what we want. We want to be able to get every team streaming their home games, getting every fan in link and in depth with their teams, and being able to find out everything that they can. But you said it just right. Dennis, the league just continues to develop and continues to just get bigger, and it's these teams that continue to improve. So for everybody that wants to see that and see the league improve, you just tell your teams if they're not streaming their games and streaming your favorite teams. But that's going to do it for us here inside the UPSL. Thank you so much for joining with us tonight. I am your host, Alex Naveja, and with me tonight was Dennis Pope and Art Eftikari. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good night, folks.